celebrities and creative type people are more at risk to be in contact with negative entities than other people, but everybody comes in contact with both positive and negative entities every day. I'm talking about energetic entities, what people call angels and demons, which is a very simplistic way to look at it. It's much more complex than that. So this is a continuation of a video I made, I think about 4 videos ago, called Angels and Demons. So it'd be important to watch that video. I'll leave a link in the description box. This video is basically a continuation of that, another piece in the puzzle. I have maybe 2 or 3 more videos on this subject matter I'm going to make in the next, week or so. And all of them are interrelated. So if you're walking down the street and you see somebody you know, and you come into contact and you exchange information, and if it's maybe a more heated conversation where the person's in a bad mood or an angry mood, or they're really happy and in a good mood, they will influence you in one way or another based on what they feel. You will come in contact with their energy field. The information they give you also is a part of that. And you have an exchange. You have an interpersonal exchange, and things pass between you. And you often will leave a conversation feeling worse or feeling better, depending on the spiritual condition and the emotional state of the person you just interacted with. Now, there are other things that can happen. When you're in a physical body, you can see somebody you know, and before they notice you, you can sort of hide your face or turn away or do something so they won't notice that you're there because you don't want to speak to that person. And you have the ability to walk away from an unpleasant conversation. If somebody is saying something to you you don't like or you don't want to talk to the person, you have ways of putting up boundaries, saying, I'm really busy, I got to go do this other thing, whatever. If somebody calls you or emails you or text messages you or sends you a message on Facebook or any kind of thing like that, you can choose not to engage on a physical level and on a way of physical communication. You can choose not to make a connection with that person. So these are some of the boundaries and advantages that we have in our material life, in our physical life. On an energetic level, there is differences, because when you come into contact with a person, you don't even have to say hi to them, but just standing in their presence. You don't even have to say anything to a person, and you exchange energies. Also, when you think about people and you make a connection that way, when people are thinking about you on a positive level, if they're praying about you or doing something in a meditative way where they're putting you in front of God, connecting you on a heart-based level, sending you love, sending you, well wishes and these types of things. There's an energetic exchange between physical people. And then there's the energetic beings. And we're talking about angels and demons here, but again, more complex than that. There are many different forms of energetic life. And we have an energetic life. We're energetic beings. There's energy within a human frame. Some of this can be measured by science, electromagnetic energy, different kinds of life, an energetic life that's in us. And when somebody dies, they always look for a cause of death. They say, well, this is the cause of death. But in reality, it's when the energy leaves your body. You can say, well, their heart stopped or this happened. But it's when the soul energy leaves a person's body. So the fact that we're alive is that there's energy animating our bodies, an etheric life force, what we call our souls. And then there's these various energetic bodies that we have, subtle bodies, really not energetic, it's more subtle than energy. And there's light and these types of things. And all of these things have a life form in themselves. And we exchange these energies when we meet people in a physical form, and also when we come across souls that are not in a body. And those souls can get much closer to you. There's no physical boundaries. Your souls don't have, a physical space the same way as a human being does. You can occupy the same space as an etheric being, and this can be very uncomfortable. And when you meet positive beings, they pull you up. You're more likely to feel feelings of love and gratitude because that's the spiritual condition they bring with them. And when you come across demonic beings, negative beings, beings that are purposefully trying to be away from God, they are living their own individualistic lives, and they are disconnected. They are choosing to be disconnected from God. They are often going to be negative in various ways. And even if they're saying nice things, you're feeling what you feel about these beings, and saying would be in some way these ideas that come to you. So we are always in contact with these types of beings on a day-to-day basis. We have a spiritual support team that's around us all the time, that respects our individual choices, but they're there to keep us on a path and to send us positive thoughts and positive feelings, even though we can get into a state where we don't feel them or don't want to accept them because we are in a negative state, victim consciousness. We're in a state where we're not gratitude, we're ungrateful, perhaps mad at God, feeling sorry for ourselves, whatever. And we are not able to feel these things. And when we have these negative feelings, like I talked about in the other video, negative entities will come to you to feed off of these negative feelings, and they will provide thoughts for you that will make these feelings worse. They will tell you things in a different way through a thought force to create ideas that will make a situation worse. If you're in conflict with somebody, they'll point out things about the other person, how they wronged you, and they will do the same thing to the other person, exacerbating the situation. Now, in terms of creative people and celebrities, now if you're an actor, if you're someone who's an actor, you have to create a character. If you're going to act a role, you have to create a character. So this character either has to be something that you create out of your own imagination, and that will give you pretty good results. But the best result as an actor is if you are in touch with a spirit, with a personality that represents this character. And this is where you hear actors talking all the time of channeling various beings, and they feel like things are passing through them. You see this with many celebrities, not just in terms of actors, but you see that there are rappers, like there's or musicians. I know Beyonce's talked about that there's this alternate personality called Sasha Fierce, and she talks about that quite often. So it's this entity that comes through her when she's on stage. She says this person's much more is much more confident and has sort of an attitude, and this is the alternate personality. Now, when people talk about alternate personalities, these are often some form of energetic life that has its own personality, and it's coming through your physical body and expressing itself. Now, let's say somebody is playing Abraham Lincoln. Now, he could give a good performance pretending to be Abraham Lincoln, but he can give a great performance if he somehow gets in touch with Abraham Lincoln's soul, its spiritual entity, and that being comes through him and gives its own performance. It performs as itself, its memory of the life the soul had as Abraham Lincoln. So this doesn't have to be bad or good. All great works of art, whether it's written material, art, dance, any of these things, involve multiple energetic beings coming through somebody. And if these beings are of a higher nature, if these beings are more spiritually evolved than you, then the work will be divine, it'll be sublime, it'll be this incredible gift to humanity. Because most of the work, or all of the work that people think about in terms of spiritual teachings, comes through a collective effort of higher developed souls who are very close to God, and they are pouring information through a person, and that person is acting as a conduit. and is allowing this information to flow. So this is something that can be extraordinarily positive. Of course, once you're an open doorway, which we all are in one way or another, but once you fully open this idea that you're open to contact with other spiritual beings, and if you're not somebody who is emotionally stable and balanced, if you're not somebody who's connected to God on a deep level and a constant state of being connected to God, you can also fall under the influence of these negative entities and negative beings. It's just like having a relationship with a human being. Once in a while, you get into a relationship with a negative person, and this person has a negative influence on you, and there is a rope between you. There is a connection between you, and you can't get rid of that connection. You just, no matter what you do, you're bound to this person because you've made some sort of link with this person. And so this is even more so the case with energetic beings, because energetic beings, many of them, because they're all different, but most of them that are of a negative nature don't have a mind and certainly don't have a personality like we think about. So they can show up in one dimension or one plane of existence, but they have to be called. You have to make more of an effort to connect to the negative beings. You have to either present something that'll attract them to you, or you will have to you'll have to basically call them through some ceremony or ritual. And once this connection is made, then they are bound to you and they won't go floating off so easily. And so this is the need to not make these kind of connections. So you have this thing with celebrities, very much so, want to be rich and famous. The people who are celebrities, more than anything else, they value material success, material fame, and so they are often willing to make contracts and sell their souls to the devil and bow before demonic presences to give them that wealth and fame. Now again, I've talked about this in the past, the monetary system, the debt-based monetary system, we're all 100% dependent on it, is demonic in nature. It's a negative system. And so demons are involved in creating that system. Demonic energy, these types of things are involved in that. So praying to these demons and making deals with these demons in a system that they are in charge of in many ways creates wealth. It creates people getting wealthy. That's why all of these wealthy people do these rituals, not just in terms of money, but in terms of power. And again, we're in a negative cycle now on planet Earth, where negative entities and negative energy have more of a control over a lot of our systems, our monetary system, our military systems, our political systems, our social system, and certainly our entertainment system. So this is why you see all of these celebrities who desperately want more than anything else to be rich and famous, and maybe they're a great actor and they want to go farther in their acting abilities, or a comedian or something like that. So they bring in these energies, they bring in these demonic forces, and they are channeled through them. Now again, this can happen on a higher level. You can connect to higher levels, and the way to do that is think to God and pray to God, I want to connect to the highest. I want to connect to beings closest to the divine. So you're presenting, or in an attitude of service, because if you are willing to do service and you're willing to act as a conduit for the divine energies will flow through you. But when you get involved with things like Ouija boards and lower level type vibratory activities, that's when you're going to get all these negative type entities. And this is what we see over and over with the celebrities. You can see it. You can see how they transform. And I talked about this in the Angels and Demons video, how something negative will come over them. You will see their faces will start to look different. It's something, if you observe it, you can see the change. You can see Dr. Jekyll becoming Mr. Hyde. And so this is something to watch for in all of these types of Hollywood dramas and a lot of the movies that are made, you can look for the transformation. You can look for how somebody is changing into a negative entity. So this video series is more about helping people connect to the positive. And I have already made one video, the Angels and Demons video, and that will be linked in the description box. And the future videos that I make on this subject will also be linked in the description box, and eventually I'll put this thing into a playlist. But it's something that should be watched, like all the videos should be watched. A lot of people are drawn to celebrity-based videos. There's a negative trend and a negative tendency. People want to know more about the Illuminati and know more about the controllers and all of the negative influences, all the occult type things, demons. They're more interested in demons than they are in angels. And that's an unfortunate trend that is happening in this world. And you have to reverse that within yourself. Because when you watch a good movie, when you watch most of the movies that exist today, and this is where they're just saturating us with violence and drama and all kinds of different kinds of personality conflicts and things that are not the way people are designed to live. They're not simple or natural. Disharmonious type plot lines and storylines in the movies and videos. And people are drawn to that because it's exciting. More often than not, the villain character is more interesting than the hero or protagonist. Because the hero or protagonist is usually just mailing it in and just playing some, this is good guy type role. But you see more and more now, the heroes are often liars and violent and using force, and they're vulgar and they're offensive. So more often than not, the heroes in movies are in themselves some sort of demonic entity. And the villains are often the more interesting character because someone is channeling another type soul, another being, and that being is interesting. A lot of times, demonic and devilish type characters have personalities that are engaging and have charisma. They have ways of drawing people in. They're interesting. They're complex. And these are the kinds of things that people are interested in nowadays. And they're not interested in natural and wholesome people or wholesome storylines because they find them boring. And this is one of the reasons people have been overstimulated. This is how they're using people's collective consciousness to draw more negative energy, more demonic energy into this planet, because people are craving excitement and they have externalized their lives into a pleasure-based type situation. So I've talked about this extensively. All of these videos are very important because it helps you navigate your etheric world, the energetic worlds, the world of your soul, your subtle bodies, which are very important to your life. You cannot fully understand your physical life and your spiritual life unless you're engaged in the knowledge and participation in that part of yourself. It's like ignoring your left leg or ignoring your arm and not using it your whole life. You're only using one of your hands, this kind of thing. I mean, you're not a complete person. It's hard to negotiate your life because the negative people are fully engaged on a spiritual level. They are aware of their spiritual support team, in their case, negative beings, negative entities, and they're using these negative beings. They're allowing these negative beings to guide them and give them information, and it's an unfair advantage to people who are disconnected from their spiritual support team, the good people that are disconnected from their spiritual support team, or the people who are just sort of riding the fence between good and evil, which is most people who don't believe in this. So you are handicapped because you won't have a complete view of the world around you. So stay tuned for the other videos in this video series.